In this video, we dive into Chapter 17 of Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince, and explore the concepts of cruelty and mercy, and whether it is better for a prince to be loved or feared. Machiavelli argues that every prince should desire to be considered merciful, but he should be careful not to abuse this mercy. The video also discusses the importance of fear and how a prince can maintain his subjects' loyalty through fear without being hated. This video is available in English, Spanish, Italian, French, and Portuguese. Considering the other qualities mentioned previously, I say that every prince should desire to be considered merciful and not cruel. However, he must be careful not to abuse this mercy. Cesare Borgia was considered cruel, but in reality, his cruelty had set the Romagna in order, uniting it and bringing it to peace and loyalty. If one reflects well on this, it will be seen that Borgia was actually much more merciful than the Florentine people, who, to avoid being considered cruel, let Pistoia be destroyed. A prince should not worry about the infamy of being considered cruel if this helps to keep his subjects united and loyal. In fact, with a few examples of justice, a prince can be more merciful than those who, through excessive mercy, allow disorders to spread, leading to killings and robberies that offend the entire community. The executions ordered by the prince, on the other hand, offend only the guilty individual. In particular, for a new prince, it is impossible to avoid the reputation of cruelty, since new states are full of dangers. Virgil, through the voice of Dido, says,
Res dura. Et regnino vitas, metalia cogunt moliri. Et latee fines, custodie tueri.
The situation is hard, and the newness of the realm forces me to do such things, to build defenses and protect the borders. However, a prince must be cautious in his thinking and actions. He must not fear himself and must proceed in a balanced way, with wisdom and humanity, avoiding becoming too confident and becoming reckless, but also avoiding becoming too distrustful and becoming unbearable. From this situation arises a dispute, whether it is better to be loved than feared, or vice versa. The answer is that one would like to be both, but since it is difficult to combine them, it is much safer to be feared than loved when one must choose between the two. Because, in general, men are ungrateful, fickle, hypocritical, cowardly in the face of danger, and eager for gain. While you do them good, they are all yours and offer you their blood, their wealth, their lives, and their children, as I have said above, when the need is far away. But when the danger approaches, they turn against you. And that prince, who relies entirely on the words of men, finding himself lacking in other preparations, will fall into ruin. Because friendships that are acquired with money, and not with greatness and noble spirit, are deserved, but they are not possessed and cannot be used in difficult times. Furthermore, men have less respect for offending one who seeks to be loved than one who seeks to be feared. Love is considered a bond of obligation which, since men are wicked, is broken at every opportunity for their own advantage. But fear is based on the fear of punishment, which never abandons you. However, the prince must make himself feared in such a way that, if he cannot obtain the love of his subjects, at least he avoids being hated. Indeed, it is possible to be feared without being hated, and the prince must ensure that this happens by avoiding taking possession of the property of the citizens and subjects and their women. Even if it were necessary to punish someone with death, it is appropriate to do so only in the case of adequate justification and clear motive. But above all, the prince must refrain from appropriating the property of others, since men forget the death of their father more easily than the loss of their inheritance. Moreover, opportunities to confiscate the property of others are never lacking, and those who start to live by plundering always find reasons to take possession of other people's property, while the reasons for punishing with death are rarer and less frequent. But when the prince is with the armies and governs a multitude of soldiers, then it is absolutely necessary not to worry about the name of cruel, because, without this name, one has never been able to keep an army united or willing to adhere to any faction. Among the surprising actions of Hannibal, this is counted. Having a very large army, composed of men of infinite different generations, led to fight in foreign lands, there was never any dissension, neither among them nor against the prince, both during difficult situations and in favorable ones. This could not have been caused by anything other than his inhuman cruelty, which, together with his infinite virtues, always made him appear respected and feared in front of his soldiers. And without this, the other virtues would not have been sufficient to produce the same effect. And the writers, who are little considered, on the one hand, admire these actions of his, and on the other, condemn the main cause of them. And it is true that his other virtues would not have been sufficient, as can be seen in the example of Scipio, which was very rare, not only in his time, but in all of recorded history. Scipio's armies in Spain rebelled against him for no other reason than his excessive compassion, which had allowed his soldiers more freedom than was compatible with military discipline. This fact was reproached by Fabius Maximus in the Senate, who called him a corrupter of the Roman army. Furthermore, when the inhabitants of Locri were destroyed by one of his legates, Scipio neither punished the legate nor corrected his insolent behavior because of his indulgent nature. So, when someone tried to justify his conduct in the Senate, he was told that there are many people who know better how to avoid mistakes than how to correct them. If Scipio had continued to govern with this harmful nature, his fame and glory would have been compromised over time. But since he lived under the rule of the Senate, this negative quality of his not only was hidden, but also contributed to his glory. Therefore, I conclude, returning to the issue of being feared and loved, that a wise prince, loving his people as it is right, and fearing only for his own safety, must rely on his own power and not on that of others. He must only avoid attracting hatred towards himself, as previously stated. In conclusion, Machiavelli argues that a prince should desire to be considered merciful, but he should be careful not to abuse this mercy. It is better for a prince to be feared than loved, as men are ungrateful, fickle, hypocritical, cowardly in the face of danger, and eager for gain. However, The prince must make himself feared in such a way that he avoids being hated. The prince must avoid taking possession of the property of the citizens and subjects, and their women. The prince must also refrain from appropriating the property of others, since men forget the death of their father more easily than the loss of their inheritance. When the prince is with the armies and governs a multitude of soldiers, it is absolutely necessary not to worry about the name of cruel. Machiavelli asserts that cruelty, when used with wisdom and humanity, can be necessary for the maintenance of order and unity in the state. Therefore, a prince should strive to maintain a balance of power through fear and mercy, avoiding becoming too confident and becoming reckless, but also avoiding becoming too distrustful and becoming unbearable. The video is available in English, Spanish, Italian, French, and Portuguese.